Hey guys, Alex Gordon here, bringing you the latest sabers off my bench. These are clearly the Orbital Machining Awesome Sauce sabers. Each one took about an hour to tape when I was, preparing for powder coating. And then between the powder coating, the baking, and the removal of the tape, it took about another hour per hilt. So it was right around 2 hours of finishing work per hilt, and then there were still little in certain areas there were little pieces of powder coating that needed just brushed off with like a fingernail or something. Just where it sort of seeped a little bit right up to the tape, but in other places maybe it didn't. It's sort of hard to explain. Powder coating acts differently than paint does. But anyway, I only made one so far, but there is a kill key here that fits inside of the CoverTech recharge port while the saber is on your belt. As you can hear, these are really quiet. I use the same speakers that I believe Django and LDM used, and I believe I did the same placement that they did in the emitter right underneath the heatsink, but I'm not 100% positive on that. I could be wrong. And on this one, this is just the blank pommel for now, but I still wanted to go ahead and show these off. On this one, I even put in a rearward facing pommel LED hooked up to accent pad number 1, so that when I do get around to making a crystal pommel, I can go ahead and do that. You can see the LEDs going there. Let's see, on mine, let me move this one out of the way. I'll do this. Everything's the same between the two, between my, side with, between my side with the belt clip and Juan's individual one, except his has the pommel LED. I didn't put it on mine because even if I do put the crystal pommels in, or even if I do make myself crystal pommels, I'm not sure how often I would use them, so it would just be another extra wire that would need, fished around if I needed to access the SD card. Now, I am a huge hater of just shoving a recharge port into somewhere and letting it dangle there and bounce around and all this crap. Well, that's exactly what I did on this one, and there's a reason. Because pretty much the inner diameter of this hilt is exactly the heat shrunk, wired up, and kill keyed recharge port. So if I stick it sideways in there, it doesn't rattle around, it doesn't anything. And interestingly enough, the wires have enough spring in them that even without the kill key, when I put it in here, it doesn't really rattle around at all. And it will because it's not connected at this point. But honestly, I left it like that because I didn't have time to finish it when I wanted to take it somewhere for the weekend. And so far I haven't had any issues with it. If I continue to not ever hear it rattle, I will probably leave it this way. If I hear it rattle one time, I'm definitely going to machine some kind of a holder for the charge port. I may even go ahead and make this greebly the kill key, or make it a half kill key where I can rotate it and it'll turn on, and rotate it and it'll turn off. But if I pull it out, that's where it'll charge. I'm not sure yet. That's all just talk for now. But again, this saber is really quiet. When you heard the one turn on, it was only so loud because it wasn't screwed together, / there was no pommel on there. / what am I talking on the forums? But anyway, let me screw this pommel on. So, whoops, which one is it? I do have them marked, even though these particular parts don't matter. Stuff like the blade plugs and the greeblies wouldn't matter either. It's just the bodies of the saber that matter. And I'm going to go ahead and take out the blade plugs. Set this one over here. Unfortunately, I only have two 7/8 inch blades, and they're not even the same type of blade, so you're gonna have to bear with me. And you also have to bear with me as I keep accidentally pushing the buttons. Move all these things to the side here. Oh, Juan's is number 49. It says so right there. And mine is number 11 and 12, which is a nice low number. I like it. Real quickly though, before I start putting any blades in, I've got to do a shout out to Ace Rocket. This is an incredible, incredible saber. Absolutely everything about it is phenomenal. Top-notch work, as we come to expect from Orbital Machining. But still, every time I hold a new Orbital Machining hilt in my hands, it's magical. It's like watching Star Wars for the first time. And the counter ends here, so I'm going to have to angle this. Probably best if I put wands in the back here. This saber will roll completely around. The greeblies will not stop it. So everybody just keep that in mind when you're setting your saber down somewhere. The emitters are fat enough that the cover tech doesn't stop it, nor do any of the buttons or anything. With mine, I wired the activation buttons to be the lower ones so that I could turn both blades on with one hand. Sorry, that's probably making a really loud noise on the camera when I drag it like that. Now Juan's, since his is a single, I did the upper one as the activation. You can see his is on there. The camera's kind of washed out because of the light. They're Tri-Rebel red, red, whites in both sabers. Again, on Juan's I put number 1 accent pad in the pommel. But on mine, it's number 1 and 2, and then again number 1 and 2. Mine's running 2 Crystal Focus 6s. Juan's is running 1, obviously, because it's only a single saber. Oh, wrong button. White flash. And just so you guys sort of understand the sound difference of like how quiet this is, I'm going to go ahead and peel back the O-rings here so you guys can sort of hear the difference. This is with the O-rings. And Juan's is actually a little bit louder because his doesn't have a blade plug in, or a blade in it, which actually does muffle it. So I'll put the blade plug back in, even though it was the wrong one, just so you guys can hear. Wrong button again. And then so it's not the oops, wrong button again. It's not like there's anything that could have been done differently with the saber. It's just the nature of the sound venting and the fact that the sound vents are covered by O-rings. So it is what it is. Revenge is loaded on both sabers, or all three, I guess. And I'm going to go ahead and swap the blade out to wands. Put mine in the back. I didn't fully tighten down the switch bezels yet because I just want to make sure that I'm not going to remove them again. So anyway, here's his. Again, this has the opposite button placement as mine, so it's a little interesting for me to try and do. The camera's having a hard time picking up the red, so there it is. His is the top again. I have to remember that. There was one more thing that I was going to say before I... Oh, the double flash on Clash, because, yeah. We had this discussion on FX Sabers a while back. I don't know if any of you remember it. I know JM419 does, but there was a discussion, I'll call it a discussion, even though it was more of an argument, that if you had a double-bladed saber, there was really no way to avoid both blades flashing at the same time, even if you had two different soundboards in there. Well, with this saber, I've pretty much proved that point. This is the first staff that I've had. There's not really a way that you can absorb the shock on one end and not the other, and then vice versa on the other end and not the first end when you only get hit on one side. It's not to say that it always registers both hits at the same time, but I would call it 90% of the time when one blade flashes, the other blade is also flashing. And I've even had a couple of cases where only the wrong blade flashed, which only really happened when I was, just messing around holding the saber with one hand. Not really the way that you would hold this saber there or there. I was just sort of, holding it like this and banging. But yeah, there it is anyway. It's not really an issue that can be fixed, controlled, anything like that. And honestly, I would still prefer the double soundboard anyway, because you can separate the hilts. You can do all kinds of stuff with a double soundboard that you can't really with the single, including only use one side of the saber without just blocking the light with the blade plug, which is a good way to do it. Don't get me wrong, but it does drain the battery twice as fast, regardless of if you regardless of if you are only using one side or if you're using both. If you have a double soundboard setup, you can if you only use one side, the other battery pack is not being depleted. So anyway, that's my build. I just wanted to show you guys again. Huge shout out to Ace. You did a fantastic job on these. And yeah, I'll see everybody later. Thanks for watching.